Now let's see in detail about the ecosystem. So what does it mean ecosystem? So earlier we saw this thing IPOC BB. So ecosystem, biome, biosphere. So ecosystem is smaller unit, biosphere is a larger unit. So simply talking, so ecosystem is a structural and the functional unit of a biosphere. So if ecosystem is this subsystem, is a subunit, then the biosphere is a superset. So where biosphere consists of all, so air, water, land. So let's see about ecosystem in detail. So what does it mean? So let's say there is summation of all the biological community. So as like we saw earlier, what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is nothing but a summation of many communities. So and the interaction with the physical environment, this leads to a lot of exchange of energy and recycling of nutrients. So this completely comprises of ecosystem. Now let's understand the flow chart of classification of ecosystem. So ecosystem is majorly classified into natural ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. In natural ecosystem, we can further classify them as terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. So terrestrial ecosystem, as like we discussed earlier, it mainly consists of grassland, forest, desert. So grassland is basically we can say a medium between the forest ecosystem and the desert ecosystem. So these two are extremes. Forest and desert are extreme, and grassland ecosystem is in middle. Next, coming to aquatic ecosystem, there will be a freshwater ecosystem and there will be a marine water ecosystem. So freshwater ecosystem mainly consists of a lentic, lotic, and wetlands. So wetlands, there will be a particular list which will be classified as wetland based upon the specific criteria, which we'll be discussing later. And coming to what is lentic, lotic. So lentic is basically a still water. So lotic is basically a flowing water. So what does still water mean? So still water means like ponds, lakes, all those things. Where flowing water means like rivers. Next, coming to marine ecosystem. So marine ecosystem majorly consists of oceans and coastal areas. So this is the broad classification of ecosystem. Next, coming to the components of ecosystem. So ecosystem majorly consists of abiotic components and biotic components. As I told earlier, biotic is the term which is referred to that of a living things. Abiotic is for non-living things. So non-living things can be further classified into climate, edaphic. So whenever the word edaphic is used, it is basically means soil. So this is the most important keyword. So next, the climatic factors simply like rain, light, wind, temperature, and edaphic factors like soil, pH, minerals, topography. These are all something related to soil. Next, coming to biotic components, it majorly consists of a producers, consumers, decomposers. So again, consumers can be classified as primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, quaternary consumers. So this is the broad classification of components of ecosystem. Need not mug up this, just understand what are biotic components, what are abiotic components, what are the different type of biotic and abiotic components. That's it. Next, coming to ecotone. So what does ecotone mean? So ecotone is simply a zone of transition between multiple diverse ecosystem. Let's say this is ecosystem 1 and this is ecosystem 2. So these two are different ecosystems. So there will be a transition zone which will be lying between these two ecosystems. So this region is called ecotone. So as like we defined here, it is a zone of transition between multiple, which means two or more diverse ecosystem. So example, let's say mangrove. So mangrove basically lies between the land and sea ecosystem, and simply estuaries, which is an ecotone between a freshwater ecosystem and a saline water ecosystem. Next concept is let's understand what is ecological niche. So whenever this word come, it simply understand this keyword. So it means every organism has a separate role, which is unique. So let's say this is organism one, this is organism two. This has individual role, this has individual role too. So everything has an individual role. If let's say both has equal role, let's say both has equal role like R1, R1. So then abruptly due to competition, so one will be eliminated. So here let's understand in detail. So it means simply this is the principle that ecological niche follows. No two species in a community can have a same niche. So this is the thing which I told. Next, understanding the food chain and food web. So what does food chain means? So food chain is simply, so we can say like this. So food chain is a subset of food web, we can say. So food chain is simply a single flow. So let's understand about grazing food chain. So there will be a plant. So plant will be eaten by caterpillar, and caterpillar will be eaten by lizard, and snake eats this lizard. So this is simply a food chain. So if it consists in form of a web, like say, so there will be a there will be a deer, so there will be a tiger, so there will be a human, so human can eat tiger, so human can eat deer, so of course it is not legal, so tiger can eat also human, so which is quite possible, so this kind of web is forming. So if related to food this kind of web is forming, then it's called the food web.